because the moment you've been waiting for is here at last. Game number 1 of your July Nova Cup semi-finals is underway. Let's go.
Let's go.
Whoa.
We can already see
YOLO.
the giant snails as the spell, aggressive spell, but it's following by the 2 very defensive spells, so it's not gonna be that appealing to pick the giant snails.
I wonder
Yeah.
if we'll see the Drachir classic giant snail on 11 recent.
Yeah, that's pretty solid, right? So you go for like a big send on wave 10, hope to get some damage done there, and then you hope that your opponent just full pushes where you resend the 160 Mythium worth of giant snails, get a big leak.
Yes, that's actually a very smart play, but let's see if the rolls gonna support this, because I see the Priestess and LOD for Drachir and Lucy, so they can set up very well.
Yep.
Yeah. Drachir has Growl Egg. I know he actually really likes it. I wonder if he's gonna play it. But he also has Nightmare Oathbreaker, so maybe.
Hexac start just feels so slow to me at the moment. Like, it feels very difficult to play, especially in a tournament scenario where the early game is so important. Like, staying on 2 or 3 workers for 3 waves is just really bad.
Yeah, I think he would only do it if he had Sea Dragon, which I think you can get 3 workers and hold to 60 with, so. But he's just gonna play Nightmare Oath.
Meanwhile, Ashton, it looks like, has a very early game focused role with the atoms, with the warg, with the maybe we get some kingpin action over there as well.
Well, fortunately, I don't think he picked it himself. I think the game handed it to him.
Yeah, that is a YOLO.
It's very good YOLO roll, right? At least
Yeah.
for early game, like first, like, I don't know, 10 waves, he can cover everything. So
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
really nice roll. But overall, everybody has like good roll early game, so I'm gonna expect heavy push this game and a lot of workers. We can already
Yeah.
see 6 workers on XGod.
Oh, that is really nice, actually. The cartel with the Treant as well, which is just so strong for the first couple of waves. That's pretty. I mean, that's pretty aggressive. He will leak here on wave 2 to no send.
I think he holds no scent, but he's leaking Snail, if I'm
Yeah.
not correct.
I think I've seen with Mask you leak 1 creep. So it's actually pretty good Fiesta. But
Okay.
I don't know how it is with PB.
Mask should be better, right? Especially if it changes a threshold somehow for the Treant. But let's find out.
But yeah, even though like already big gamble, and even if it's leaking, it's gonna be long wave, and we will see a lot of big sends and maybe a lot of leaks early game as well.
Yeah.
It's this 6 workers. But
Oh, it is a
looks
hold.
like it's holding.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Interesting. Now we do get 40 cents coming out from Drachir, XGod, and Ashton. Lucy, the only player so far to save her Mythium here. Oh, a second Treant. Yeah, that's interesting. Meanwhile, Ashton... And going back to Ashton's YOLO roll, by the way, I actually think this is one of the better YOLO rolls when you have all of that early game focus. Because YOLO, of course, you lose the income when you reroll, so having a strong early game roll is really beneficial. And then you just reroll, on wave 10, wave 11, something like that. But you've already had the bonus income throughout the entire early game.
Yeah, it's pretty insane how fast YOLO can get off the ground. I mean, if you ever play against Ashton, you'll know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Ashton is not getting sense, so he can't really take advantage right now and like push heavily, because if he got the income here, he could push very hard. But instead of this, he is forced to stay 5 workers and just build for next wave.
And we do see Lucy sending this dino here on wave 4, which Ashton may have trouble killing, but I think he just has more than enough value, really. He's going to be on, what is it, over 400 value when he finishes building?
Yeah.
It should be more than fine. It's the double work there and good DPS in atoms.
Yeah, unless his atoms magically die, then he could be in trouble, but otherwise he should be fine.
I think the wargs should be close enough, but they might be a little bit exposed. We're about to find out.
He did greet them a bit harder than I think normally people do, but...
I mean, this just looks perfect. The way that his units are sharing aggro here is really good for him. One atom's going to die, but it's done its job.
I think the next send that we're going to see is probably Drach onto XGod.
Yeah, here it comes on wave 5.
Gonna be snails, but they're pretty good against the false maiden, and Lucy's actually pro leaking to his
Oh.
fiend.
I think, yeah, this is going to be a 1 creep leak here from FC Lucy. This is really, really good, actually, because she got the 60 cent here. Leaking a single creep is just perfect for her, especially when Drachir is saving onto XGod.
Yeah, Lucy's pushing gate workers, maybe 9.
Oh, wow.
Okay, not 9.
She stays on 8, but they're still pretty solid. Meanwhile, XGod, he knows the send is coming here. He does just drop the Desert Pilgrim, which is a really good unit on wave 5, especially with this positioning. It's going to tank the boss, and basically mean the boss does 0 damage effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also snails. Not sure how strong are the snails, but it's just income, so it should be fine. Like Drachir could go for like Hermit and try Accent if he was expecting to upgrade this tree into exploding one, right?
Yeah, I think the exploding tree just one-shots the wave, though, so I think the Hermit probably not a great send if he was expecting that.
Yeah.
I think the snails are pretty fine.
I think he might not have realized Lucy's in a pro league and that he'd get 100.
Oh, I think the Cannoneer, yeah, Cannoneer would have been lovely.
But
like this, I mean, XGod's just holding, and he's pretty fine with this.
Yeah, that was actually a good spot. The Cannoneer will be very strong send here.
And we were talking about the Ashton problem, by the way. He is already pulling ahead of the competition. He's on 10 workers now, everybody else on 9. So it's still a fairly high worker game overall. But yeah, in this sort of situation, Ashton really is one to watch out for.
yeah, he is gonna have a weak wave coming up, though. Doesn't have amazing units, but maybe just enough with the atoms and the vets that he'll build for 7.
Atoms are just...
Ashton is only sending 60 here. That's very good, because if he decides to full send here and spend all his Mythium, then Drachir could like full push and just stay on his value and be like 14 workers. And like this, he can still pressure him a little bit on 8, maybe resend on 7.
Yeah, pretty solid, right?
He's just incoming.
Yeah, the drip income is something that I think is very, very popular at in the tournament games, to just try and make your opponents think a little bit more about how much myth you really have left and whether you're going to go for full send in 2 waves or you're just going to send income again. But it's going to be tryhard sends here and saves from XGod and Ash.
Okay, so the double brute here is looking a little bit threatening against Ashton. He has 180 gold to spend, but not really anything perfect to spend it on. He's got 1 veteran here. He can't afford another one, though.
Yeah, is it just another atom?
Oh, he has rerolled now, okay. And he did find some top end as well in his roll. He's got the banana bunk there. He's got, I mean, the halo as well, pretty good on covering wave 13 and 18 where the Haven is weak. Oh, but 3 brutes here is going to cause some issues for Ashton Butcher. I think this is going to be a pretty big leak here on wave 7.
See what XGod can do. He's prepping next wave with the
XGod
but
should be fine here. This Pilgrim just staying on super low HP is really perfect for him. That's going to be a hold from XGod. Ashton, meanwhile, that is not a hold. That's a 91% leak here for Ashton Butcher. FC Lucy really trying to keep Ashton under control now. Yeah, so nice that XGod is able to hold. He'll be able to cover a little bit in the middle at least, but they're still going to take some king damage here. So First Blood does go to the side of the Bearded Dragons here on wave 7.
Yeah, I do think this counterpunch is going to be pretty hard.
Oh yeah, I mean, XGod has 260 Mythium, Ashton has 200 as well. This is going to be pretty insane when it comes. Oh,
alright, it's going here.
Ogres on wave 8. What do you think about that, guys?
Pretty OP versus these builds. This guy is just too tanky for most builds, especially Nightmare.
Just very, very difficult to kill.
Very often just penny leak the ogre.
Drachir is also trying to pull the sand on the left so he can focus it with his nightmares and magic damage, so whatever it comes he can kill as fast as possible.
But those nightmares are really going to struggle to kill an ogre, aren't they?
Yeah, it's an important thing to do on ranged waves, actually, to pull big stuff left. Normally when you have you want upper split to send stuff away from your main damage, but on a ranged wave, it's important to have your melees and your ranged units hit together.
The Ogre does go down in Drachir's lane, but meanwhile in Lucy's lane, not so lucky. 113% leak for FC Lucy. Drachir, he is doing better, but he's not going to hold either. This is a 67% leak, and yeah, you guys were talking about the counterpunch. Here it comes. They're about to take a ton of king damage here on wave 8.
Yeah, that hold from XGod on 7 was super, super important, and he did it while saving a lot, so really nice setup for him.
Such a nice place by XGod and Ashton here, and it allows them to push even harder. They are now in one-shot range, so they can do pretty much everything they want. Like they can skip the save if needed with their king HP, and they can aim for some final blow.
Yeah. Something on wave maybe 11, but that can be hard against a Hades possibility from Drachir. If they wanted, they could even just go straight 13 now. They're in such a strong position.
Yeah.
They probably pushed too much for 13, but let's see.
No, they have some serious worker numbers, actually. 15 for XGod, 16 for Ashton. Drachir and Lucy not far behind with 15 and 14, but the economically that Ashton and XGod are generating is really setting them up for success here. They've had a fantastic early game so far.
They could send here, to be honest.
Yeah. And Drachir and Lucy, they will go for the wave 10 send, so interesting now whether or not XGod and Ashton decide to match it.
I think they will.
XGod has Fata without income, I think. So he might just
save, yeah. So XGod with the Fatalizer feeling very confident here on wave 10, and with good reason. He's really, really strong. Fatalizer is absolutely insane on wave 10. He has very few tanks in front of it, though, so this might even be a leak with the Fatalizer here. Be interesting to see whether or not the Fatalizer snipes out that Mimic.
Yeah, the Mimic can be enough to kill the Fata in time with the boss, but it'll be close either way, and Drach doesn't have a Brute to send with the Mimic to send it all the way right, so it might just get sniped.
I mean, let's see. He has got the box Mimic skin. Yeah, the mask is bringing it low, but the Fatalizer, it looks like, is straight onto the boss. This is important now. Can the Fatalizer kill the Granddaddy, or will it be a leak? I mean, it's really ramping now, and the Granddaddy does go down at the same time as the Mimic, so that's a hold there from XGod. Meanwhile, Ashton's sure he's leaking, but with XGod holding, this is just really, really good for them, because they're still saving Mythium. They have 320 each already on the side of XGod and Ashton.
Yeah, I'm interested what they are gonna do. Like, the Mythium is so massive, but there is also 2 Dark Rituals, but I think they still just go and go big sand. But the question is if they go 13 or 12. Maybe he was calling 13 on wave 8 and it was all calculated, so let's see.
Yeah. And
my instinct was that you could just send here and you still win the game no matter what because you're so far ahead, but...
Now they're turning it a little bit more all-in, right? Like, they had a very, very strong lead in the early game, and they still do have a really, really good lead. But now they're entering all-in territory. When they pull the trigger on this send, be it wave 12 or wave 13, it has to work. It has to be a one-shot, because otherwise, having saved for so long, this could actually give Drachir and Lucy a doorway back into the game.
And they actually double Dark Ritual.
Okay.
Which is...
I mean, it makes sense, right?
Playing around the giant snail.
Yeah.
They
don't want to throw the game here. Like they know that Drachir is a fan of the giant snail resend, and they just, if they're going to go for a long save, they just have to play it safe.
Yeah, like they know the game is in their hands, so no need to take any risk and just full league to resend on snail 111. And now they just can push hard. And
I think Drachir is suiciding for 13.
Okay, that's a good call.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good call. So Drachir and Lucy, like, they're no longer playing to try and hold their send. They know it's going to be way too big when it does come. So they're just hoping to break XGod and Ashton instead on wave 13 and go for the race. And actually, with the double Dark Ritual on the side of XGod and Ashton, they have lower King HP now. It's not by much. It's only 7% difference. But it can make all the difference in a race.
Yeah, and the fact is that Ashton is more pushed, because he's not going to hold 13 as well as XGod. So they have the right read on Draxui, but I mean the Mythium counts aren't favorable in a race situation. That's for sure.
No, that is for sure. Ashton is really heavily pushed though. He's on 24 workers now, sending the double 4-eyes already into Drachir. Maybe thinking that Drachir shifted here. They might not have been able to read the full push there from Drachir, which is a pretty spicy play, I have to say.
Yeah, they don't really have a lot of options, so I don't mind him going for something like that.
No, it's a really good read, I think, on the side of Drachir and Lucy. Like, this is just a Hail Mary from them because they know that they have basically already lost the game, and this is their one shot, essentially, is to try and win a race. They never win by just trying to hold here because the send is way too big for them to deal with, so they just try and turn it into a race, and I really like that call from these guys.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to find this one out they can win, and they spot it, and they are executing it. So very good play by Drachir and Lucy here.
Now, Lucy... This is going to come down to a race really between Lucy and, I guess, Ashton. But Lucy has by far the highest value in the game here at 2.5k. But yeah, Ashton receiving 240 versus the 780 that Lucy receives. So Drachir, of course, leaking 200% there with his full suicide push. And how is XGod doing? I mean, his Fatalizers are down, his Berserkers are down. And Ashton, he is leaking as well. Lucy does go down, though. The 780, it did prove to be big enough. Despite her having the best value, the send was just way too big. Ashton, of course, leaks as well. But yeah, this is GG. XGod and Ashton. XCrash, they do take a 1-0 lead against the Bearded Dragons.
Yeah.
Nice play by them. Very nice play. It all started with the 6-worker push from XGod, right?
Yep.
And
on wave 2?
There was
yeah.
On wave 2, yeah. And then he leaks, obviously, on 3. But then, like, this was, like, chain leaks, right? But I think what catch them off guard, like Drachir and Lucy, is that I think they was not expecting from Ashton to save till 8.
Yeah.
Like, how often you see Ashton sending Ogre and, like, skipping 7 when he's facing big send, like... I think that was the game changer.
But do you know what's really impressive there, though? Like, you don't expect Ashton to save. He literally skipped one wave. He sent pre-income on wave 6 with the Fiend, didn't add, obviously, post-income, and then he sends a 240 send on wave 8. So that's just... It goes to show, like, how scary Ashton can be when he pushes those workers in the early game.
Yeah. Really, a really nice game. And basically that... I think Drac needed a little income to build the Warg from 6, and then that just made his send on 7 too small to get XGod there.
Yeah.
And it also was like this Fiend income on 6, like I was mentioning. It was very good, and he saved 40 Mythium, and it was exactly enough to send, for example, Ogre on 8. So we can see like this small change or small like thinking or like changes like have like big effect right here.
Yeah, exactly. Because if he didn't hold on to that 40, he probably ends up sending, dinos or something on wave 8, which is just Drachir is easily holding then, and they're not going to take nearly as much king damage. But because he was able to get that ogre out by saving the 40 wave 6, it's just absolutely devastating. This damage that they take on wave 8 going from 100% to 43 just really cements XGod and Ashton hard in the lead after this wave 8 send.
Yeah, and I think another thing is the cartel pick from XGod was perfect for that kind of situation, where you need to hold while being pretty aggressive in the early game, and it just lets you get off of save if you want to, whilst holding onto your Mythium, or whilst holding onto the enemy sense, and I feel like he really used that to create the advantage.
I think he played like textbook cartel, like he pushed. Over pushed, and then he catch up with income and make huge holds on 7 and 10, and then the game was already over. So the kicking on cartel was not an issue. So really nice play.
Just really, very, very clean play overall from XGod and Ashton there. Fairly textbook, like you say. Yeah, really, really good. All right, guys, so that is a 1-0 advantage now for XGod and Ashton Butcher. What do Lucy and Drachir need to change up with their game plan as we go into game number 2, do you think?
Well, I mean, it was a bit of an unfortunate situation. I mean, they had the right read that their weak wave was 8, and they tried an undercut on 7. It's just they got outplayed by XGod there. And so I mean, it would be nice if they didn't have the same weak waves in the early game, but you can't always have that. So maybe just see if they can come up with a slightly better early game where they're not getting big cents for king damage.
I don't even really feel like Drachir and Lucy made any mistakes, or not any obvious ones in the early game at least, because Lucy was still applying a ton of pressure against Ashton, right? She sent 3 brutes on wave 7. He leaked massively. Like, it was really clutch that XGod was able to hold his lane there, but Drachir and Lucy were still playing pretty aggressively, pretty solid Legion. It's just Ashton and XGod seem to be one step ahead. But guys, okay, so this is now everything to play for. Game number 2 is here. Ashton and XGod, they're on match point. Drachir and Lucy, they need to win this one if they want to have a hope of staying in the finals.
Yep, Ashton onto his greed pick. Pretty expected when he doesn't have YOLO. And it's Lucy on the cartel this time.
All right. Now, I know Lucy is very, very good with Cartel, so it'll be interesting to see what she does with this Mastermind pickup here. And do you guys spot anything interesting in the roles here?
I mean, we do have some tree guys available.
Yeah. No Wildstorm, it's it, so
Yeah.
something.
I wonder if Lucy will play Anglers, because I think it's the choice that makes sense with her role, but I know she doesn't love playing with Anglers.
I actually I play a lot of Anglers myself, but I really don't like playing Anglers with Cartel. Now, Adams, actually, you're probably the perfect person because you're the Angler master, right? So, I mean, yeah, Lucy, we see her roll it away. She's not willing to play the Anglers. But Adams, what do you think with Anglers in Cartel? Because really, in my mind, with Cartel, you just want to have a very strong early game, and Anglers are kind of the opposite of that, right? You sacrifice your early game in favor of a mid-game power spike.
Yeah, I will not play around Anglers, or like not try to force it if I have some other roles. It's very important to push your workers with Cartel.
Yeah, guys, look at this. 4 snails sent here on wave 1. But only one player, I think, is going to leak, and that's Ashton Butcher. The other players should hold. XGod might leak a little bit, actually, because the Looter is definitely not the perfect split to have with the Trinity Archer here. And yeah, so he leaks 3 creeps. Ashton's going to leak 4 or 5 creeps as well.
It is RNG, I think, with the Looter, but what can you do?
Yeah, 42% there from Ashton, 33 from XGod. And I mean, this is very, very small amounts of king damage, but it is an early game lead already for Drachir and Lucy. So as they go into their all-important game number 2, they can't afford to lose this one. This is about as good a start they could hope for, really.
Everyone just collecting their income.
It might not seem that big, but it's kind of big. Like you, on wave 1, you're already playing with more gold, like what is it, plus 16? So it's like some bonus spell. Like it might not sound that great, but it's actually good advantage for them. So let's see if they can use it.
And they also got the plus 6 each from holding their own snails as well, right? So it's really, really good early game for them. Oh, but Lucy did not add anything to her Gatling gun here, so she does go for a bit of a leak now on wave 2. It's only 3 creeps and a snail, though. She's fine with that. And meanwhile, XGod leaks 40% to his snail resend. Oh, but Drachir leaks as well. Okay, this changes things now.
Yeah, I mean, Ashton holding, the only one. It's a very interesting early game so far.
This is a real Fiesta early game, guys.
Actually, the small advantage now is disadvantage, right? Because they leaked bigger.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised what Drachir did, because he shifted like 38 gold or something. He only added this one. So I think
he
maybe
didn't expect XGod to go 6 workers, because I think XGod only got that because he's cash out.
That does make sense. Yeah, he wouldn't have been able to get the second snail out, right?
Well.
Yeah. So Drachir's definitely holding here on wave 3, and Lucy probably holding as well. Let's have a look at XGod. He's receiving the biggest send here. He does get triple snail,
big,
225 value. Yeah, he's going to go for a bit of a leak here. But with the Aqua add as well, that's pretty solid arcane HP. So he's able to at least clear a good amount of the creeps.
Yeah.
But it's actually the opposite of what we're used to seeing from this pairing, right?
Yeah, right?
XGod going crazy.
Nice fiestas there.
Talking of going crazy, by the way, Lucy has 8 workers here on wave 3. That's pretty insane.
insane.
Yeah, I mean, Gun is just super, super strong if you're getting Sen's early game. Can push like crazy, and she has great units to support it. The Infiltrator is one of the best with Gun, and the rest of the tier 3s just make her gold really nice, I think.
Yeah. She is getting a pretty big resend here, though.
Yeah, I
Ashton,
think she's
he
leaking to
sent
80.
3 snails already. He's going to add another one, or he'll at least be able to add another one if he wants to. And Lucy with 320 value here, I think she could go for a bit of a leak.
Yeah, I don't think this. I think this can hold 60, but 80 might be a leak.
Oh, Ashton's not sending the 4th snail, though, it seems.
Not ready for the greed.
I mean, if Lucy holds here, then her 8-worker push is going to pay off big time, I think.
Yeah, the Gun is split tanking pretty good here.
Oh, wow, this is just dream aggro here for FC Lucy, and she is
Wow.
holding. So that 8 workers, 9 workers now, really paying off. Meanwhile, XGod leaks again. Okay, it's only 2 creeps, but this is chip
Yes,
damage
the
pretty
God.
much every wave against XGod.
Nikasgod
Oh,
is
but-
gonna face the big sense, and he's not that strong here. He needs to be very careful here right now, because if he leaks here again, it's gonna be very hard for him.
Yeah.
His units are suboptimal, you could say.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Now, XGod
And
is going
he's
for
trying to-
a try-hard send here with the Hermit, with the Snails into Drachir's lane, but with that Tree of Knowledge, Drachir, there's just absolutely no way. The Fire Elemental on its own is insane on wave 5, and with Tree of Knowledge, I mean, this thing's just going to one-shot the wave. Let's watch this thing go boom.
It's actually the easiest hold, and Drak did this while saving. So,
Yeah.
The game
don't
is
think
so
this will
fed,
be-
though, with the sends every wave, with leaks every wave. Everybody has so much gold to play with. Boom! Look at that. Everything dies immediately.
now it's the 1v1 showdown. Well, I mean...
Oh, the Hermit does win.
Or-
Okay, so he leaked him. I really don't think that's worth, though, from XGod, sending that Hermit there.
That's
Maybe
so
a
good for
Cannoneer
Lucy.
would have been better, right?
That's so good for
Oh
Lucy.
my
It's 12
God.
walkers.
Oh, yeah, that's incredible, actually. Lucy, 12 workers on wave 5. She's getting an income send here on 6, where she should be able to do very well, if not just full hold.
Yeah, and this is also coming from Drak pressuring Ashton, just saving on him, forcing him to income a lot. And somehow his build has 3 of these guys.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And Drachir is saving for maybe Ghost Knight or something, Go Nate.
Ashton is
Yeah.
really going to struggle wave 8. Like, even if he has the Coiler, which of course is fantastic there, something like a Ghost Knight just means that the Coiler's on its own against the wave, because these units will just never reach the Cobras.
We talked about people trying to... No one being able to use Canified Tree, but the Tree of Knowledge is also saying, okay, Drak maybe over-pushed a bit, but...
Yeah, but speaking of over-pushing, Lucy's on 14 workers, and she does hold her send here on wave 6. Lucy's just having an absolutely incredible game here in game number 2.
Oh, it's actually... Wow.
Okay, the
Didn't wanna say
Ogre
it any
on
longer.
7. But Ashton, he's on 900 value. He drops a Cage of Pain here. Fantastic tank value for 7. And if that gets a spell off as well, it should prevent him from kind of focusing the Ogre part way through, because the AoE damage is going to weaken the sludges.
Yeah, I think he can do pretty good here.
I think he can might even hold.
He's on
Yeah,
value. Like, he's
he-
on 905 value here, guys. The send is massive, but so is Ashton's fighter value. Like, he's insane here.
Yeah.
We even have the Serpent picking off the Lizard on the back line. There was a spell cast there by the Cage. So now the Harbingers and the Gate Guards just destroying all the sludges with the bam woof action. The Ogre is actually being focused now, though, so
Yeah.
very important whether he can kill this, or will he end up leaking on 1 HP. And it looks like the latter, the Ogre, just too strong. But I think Ashton's very happy with his performance here. It's a low HP Ogre. It's a sludge and a couple of tiny little blobs. Lucy, yeah, that is scary, Ofma. Holy moly.
There's no stopping for Lucy in this game. Like, it's insane lead right now. Like, the
She's
income and
so
workers.
far ahead in terms of income. Look at that. Adams, she's on 159 income. The second player is XGod with 122. This is really crazy here.
Insane,
and she-
insane.
She's feeding XGod every single wave, and still coming out ahead. So.
Yeah. I mean, her feeding XGod every wave, like, he ended up leaking quite heavily in the first 4 waves, right? So he has stabilized now. He did hold 6 and 7, but, you know, she's getting so much gold value from sending this income every wave. Now, Drachir, he does get 180 resend now from XGod. Is he able to hold this time? This is going to be important, I think. That Aqua combo, very, very strong on 8 when there's no Mole Hermit involved. And with this split tanking, it just looks pretty perfect for him. That's a full hold, right?
Even the Sea Dragon healing up the Aqua.
Yeah. That's a nice hold there from Drachir, so he's able to stabilize as well. We do get more income sent from Ashton and XGod, and Lucy is going for a try-hard send for, I think, the first time this game.
Yeah,
I'm actually surprised that she's going for Maul right here. I know that she's looking good.
Oh!
Okay.
Oh, that Mole's going to pay off pretty hard.
Yeah. No way you build Archer on this wave.
Yeah.
I mean, this is also building for 10, so I think
XGod is shifting. XGod's shifting gold here. He's trying to go for that Sovereign on 10, I think, but he's going to receive a 180 send here from Lucy, and this shift is going to come and bite him, I think.
Yeah, he's on value, so he shouldn't do horribly.
So much of his value is bad here, though. The Steeds just die instantly. The Archer, the Aqua combo is just hard countered by the Mole.
Yeah, it's going to be some struggles here.
The Sovereign doesn't get to pop off with its ability there, and as a result, XGod is leaking hard. That's a 71% there. Ashton does hold, though, so they're not going to take any king damage. Ashton has more than enough cover value left in the mid with all of these doggos. Lucy, though, 20 workers, guys. 21! She just can't be stopped!
No way. There is no way she will be stopped this game.
Yeah.
And I think XGod got, like he got hot, in my opinion, but I think when he saw the build of Ashton, he was, like, not expecting the hard 9 on him.
I mean, it can be... You can kind of get lulled to sleep when someone is just incoming you the whole game, and then out of nowhere, it's like a huge tryhard resent, and you're just leaking everything.
I mean, he's probably not expecting to be sent from someone who has 24 workers on wave 10, right? Like, this feels like some sort of record for a Nova Cup game. Oh, that is just so much damage. The Rogue Wave and the Elite Archer there from XGod shredding the boss on wave 10. But they're so far behind. Like, even though their builds are really, really strong, he's got the Lifesteal Sovereign, he's got the Trinity Archer Rogue Wave combo, but Lucy, with those 24 workers, just really steamrolling ahead right now. Drachir is struggling, though, so leaking 46% here to just a Dino send. He was very weak on wave 10, of course.
Yeah, I don't think he has a single good unit besides his Antler.
Yeah.
So we'll let it slide. And
more income sent here from XGod, but 3 of the players are saving. And Ashton, knowing that Lucy is on a steamroll trip right now, he's just trying to put the brakes on. He's saved up 300 Mythium here. He's still piling the pressure onto Lucy, actually. Maybe expect to see a 13 send, but even there, Lucy can be very strong with the Orchids.
Yeah, they need to do something right now, and it has to work.
Yeah.
Else, there's no chance to stop Lucy.
She's going for the scaling too.
Talking of tryharding, though, because Drachir, he's got 380 Mythium as well. So both of these guys placing a ton of pressure on their respective opponents. And when do you think Drachir's going to send?
I mean, it's kind of unclear to me when they want to go, because XGod doesn't really have weak waves for a while. Like,
probably
his build is...
13 together.
13 is reasonable, yeah.
Can send a lot.
Ashton is so strong, though. He's going to have Starcaller with the Magician Aura, which is actually pretty solid value for Harbingers and Gate Guards as well, by the way, because when those things end up getting 2 or 3 dogs spawned, they just produce so much free value.
I suppose you could try a 12 send, but it seems...
But XGod is just way too strong on 12, right?
But Ashton has no tank for 13, so sure, he has, like, good build, but the units are not that great on 13. Like, his boar and a lot of fortified armor.
Yeah, and he has going for a building for 12 here. Maybe just relying on XGod to hold 13.
Yeah, and XGod is building for 13, so XGod does pop the Sovereign here, and a couple of Pegasus actually had the Sovereign last wave, so he's really just building for wave 13, knowing that Ashton is going to be weak there. So I like the way they're trying to cover each other's weak waves.
Yeah, it looks like 13 is the play for everyone. I can't imagine them saving past that.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
never 14, so it has to be 13.
Just look at these values now, though. Ashton is already 500 under value, Lucy 400, Drachir 300, and here come the Wave 13 sends indeed. There's no way that Ashton and XGod can afford to skip Wave 13. They have to send as well. They do. We have Witch from XGod. We have Four Eyes Ram from Ashton, really trying to break through Lucy's defenses here. She's going to have 3 fully boosted Orchids, though, which is just insane value.
The Ram is going home, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Ram
But,
will disappear.
Now,
It is still
Drachir's
the best send,
receiving the smallest send here. XGod did slip in a couple of income sends in between, so he's not able to send too much. But having said that, Drachir, he's just out of the game right now. He's been saving too long into Ashton. He leaked too much in the early game, and he just has no chance of holding, even though the send is small. It's really all about Lucy and XGod here as the 2 holding players for each side.
Yeah, that wave 6 really hurt him in the early game. Just leaking
These sends are absolutely
half the way.
enormous. 720 for Ashton here on 13, 660 for XGod. Even with the Sovereign, it is about to pop off, so he will get a ton of splash value. And actually, maybe he can do very well. Ashton leaking 167. The send was massive, of course. This Sovereign, oh, it does go down. That's a big leak from XGod. 83%, though. It's all low HP. But Lucy is leaked here as well, despite being 2,500 value. That's a 67% and a 50 gold shutdown. Both teams taking a ton of king damage here on 13, but neither one going down, I don't think.
Yep. And XGod has pushed no more workers because... Oh,
Yeah.
well, he pushed a little bit, but he doesn't need to.
Ashton might be suiciding, and they might go for 15 cent. Let's see.
I mean,
The 15 is quite obvious, weak wave, right?
yeah, both sides took so much damage here. But having said that, if Ashton is, and it is, Ashton is fully pushing his workers. He's not building anything. He's even selling some units, I think, over there. But meanwhile, Lucy and Drachir, they're both shifting a ton of gold. We've got 300 on Drachir. We've got 500 on Lucy. These guys are planning to just accept the send on 15. They're going to be probably nearly 4k value there for Lucy on wave 15. So hoping to send. And if they do hold this all-in send on wave 15, they've pretty much won the game.
Okay, Drac telling Lucy to shift more value.
Lucy shifting 900 gold. Wow. That's a big shift there from FC Lucy.
Yeah, quite a good shift.
Yeah.
I mean, the play was I think it was obvious for Drachir and Lucy, and they are preparing for it. I think they should also send if they are reading that it's a sweep play.
Yeah.
There's no need to skip if they know this is happening. But they
Yeah, Ashton didn't leak to no send, so...
Lucy's going to be overvalued, by the way, when she finishes
Yeah,
building.
with battle scars, by the way.
Yeah, battles. How many stacks of battle scars? 2 stacks on the Dread Knight, a couple of stacks on some Orchids there. This is just very, very juicy. She's going to get the Tree of Life here for a battle scars Dread Knight as well.
They have the right read to build for 50.
I think this was their plan all along. They know the send is coming 15, but they know that Lucy can be overvalued here by shifting 900 gold on 14, right? So they want to bait the send on 15, survive it, and then they're just in the driving seat. But look at this. Ashton, he's actually selling his entire board. He's on 900 value here, wave 15. They have absolutely no intention of the game going any longer than wave 15.
Yeah.
So it all comes down to Lucy's lane here, I think. Ashton leaking 92% to no send. This Needler is going to town against Lucy's board, but she's just destroying the
Easy
wave.
holding.
Absolutely easy hold there from FC Lucy. This is huge for the side of the Bearded Dragons. Now, Drachir, he's leaking, but even Drachir's done very well here against this send from XGod. So 81%, but it's all low HP, and Lucy's more than well equipped to clean this all up in the mid.
And XGod is going for round 2 right now in the mid.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, XGod is able to clear the entire wave of Ashton's leak, but they have no chance of holding wave 16.
Yeah, Ashton stopped pushing, but I don't think he's gonna recover his lane through income alone.
No, he's not. He's actually still full pushing, so he's going all in now. But Lucy, having survived wave 15, I think this
It's
is
just
just all
building
over.
more.
Yeah, the Sens are going to be way too big for Ashton and XGod to hold on to. And meanwhile, XGod, sure, he'll be on 4k value, but Lucy's on nearly 5k value here.
Yeah, with the battle scars value as well, it's
Yeah.
out of control.
They both have Dread Knights. They both have Tree of Knowledge. Perfect on wave 16. I think Drachir and Lucy have clutched this one, guys. And this is what it takes to see a game number 3. They've dominated this game too, I think. And really, I've got to say, FC Lucy is the MVP here. This has been an absolutely dominating performance from her.
Yeah. I didn't think we would see anything quite this extreme from Drach and Lucy in terms of the early game enabling, but
Yeah.
Lucy doing her best Ashton cosplay.
Now, Ashton, of course, leaking the entire wave with his suicide push. XGod leaking 148% as well. Lucy easy holding. Drachir's holding as well. It was a nice attempt there from Ashton and XGod to try and end the game on 15. Didn't work out, and that means the Bearded Dragons have tied the series 1-1.
Yep. Value a little too strong for the workers.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
And both games, the cartel player is just going absolutely bananas in terms of making the right plays. So maybe
yeah.
we'll see another cartel angle from Drachir this time.
This was just really extreme, though. I think I struggle to remember the last time we saw a player having this many workers in a Nova Cup tournament. 24 workers on wave 10 there from FC Lucy. It's really, really impressive the way that she played this game.
Yeah, and especially considering how good all 4 of these players are, it wasn't just like a huge individual player disparity that led to it. It's 4 really good players and one of them finding a way to somehow create this big of an advantage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if FC Lucy had a gun with the infiltrator and PVs, and like if you are getting income sense, you can really push hard, and she abused that really well. And also XGod probably leaked way too much on first 4 waves.
Yeah, I think the
he,
7th worker was just too greedy in that fed of a game.
1 or 2 pro leaks, especially if you have a worker lead, can be very good for you. But if you're leaking all 4 of the first waves, while your opponent has more workers as well, it's only going to go one way for you, right? And Lucy and Drachir more than capable of turning their early game advantage into a winning position, and we just saw them. What a great play, by the way. The wave 15 being on 4k value, holding the 760 suicide send there from Ashton Butcher, and then just easily closing out the game on wave 16. Really well played, Drachir and Lucy.
Yeah, and I'm in the lobby and Ashton already moved to get out of Drach's sending position.
I don't blame him. I really don't blame him. Drachir did a very good job of keeping Ashton down in this game. I mean, they had an Ashton problem in game number 1, right? And they clearly wanted to make sure that there was no such problem in game number 2.
It was actually XGod problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let me get
I
into
think
the
Ashton
lobby
is
as well.
definitely better suited to play with getting income sense from Lucy. So we'll see if Lucy switches it up and tries to play a little more enabling, a little more starvy.
I'm not expecting such a fiesta early game in
Yeah.
this match right now.
It's very rare that you see so many like snail spam sends on every wave in a competitive format, right? But I mean, it was a really exciting game. It was very high paced, very high income, very high scaling, and yeah. I mean, it went to the side of the Bearded Dragons, but either way, it's a fun one to watch. But guys, here is game number 3 with everything to play for. The series is tied so far, but whoever wins this game is making it to the grand finals.
There is that cartel we were talking about. And yes, a decent roll with it.
He does. He's
Awesome.
got Crusher Opener, which is pretty solid. He also has things like the Starcaller Boar and Windhawk and Shroom, which are very solid as well. I
What?
like the Howler. I like all the units in Drachir's role, actually.
He's
FC
missing
Lucy
a little bit
Casher?
of pierce damage on Drachir. He only has the Disciple,
Mhm.
so he has to pick it. So
He
that
has
can be
Howler
really
as well.
good.
Howler is actually underrated, I think. That thing can be some pretty cost-effective damage. Like, it's never going to be your carry unit, but it's cheap, and it does a pretty decent amount of DPS for the cost.
Yeah, especially in the early game.
XGod with redraw, though. This is something that we see very rarely in Overcut because, of course, it's one of the lowest income masterminds at only +3. The trade-off for that, though, is that it almost guarantees you're going to get a really good roll. Though, having said that, I think his initial roll here is pretty weak, honestly. And he's already used 3 of the rerolls.
Yeah, he's
Oh
digging
my God.
quite deep.
He's probably just trying to find Butcher or something, right?
Looking
To
for
hit
Oathbreaker,
the-
maybe?
Yeah, Outbreaker and Butcher and some upgrades, right?
Yeah.
Or like a
Oh
guard or
no,
something.
guys. There's a snail on 1 coming from Lucy into Ashton's Wild Shroom. This is bad. And meanwhile, Ashton sent a snail into Drachir's Bone Crusher. So again, it's looking like a repeat of Game 2 with Wave 1 already giving a massive lead to Drachir and FC Lucy.
And Ashton has not that good roll, right? Because his cheapest unit is Buckler. It's gonna be harder to play around. He's
had
in danger on
Adams.
Wave 2 as well, right?
I
Yeah, I
think
he has the
Ashton's roll...
Infiltrator, which is okay, but this is a super, super duper long wave.
Yeah, really, really long wave. I think Ashton's roll here actually is worse than the YOLO roll he played in game number 1, right? But this time he's playing Greed.
Yeah. He still has reroll. I'm not sure what is he waiting for, or what is his plan.
He wants to reroll after wave 1, I guess, because he doesn't want to waste a reroll for a tier 1, though I think a tier 1 would be pretty useful for him, honestly.
Yeah, he ditched his Adams in his starting role, which I think would have been quite good with these units, and I think they're quite good in general for the early game right now.
Yeah, a bit of a weird one there, honestly, from Ashton, because he's also a very good player with atoms, so... Alright, there's a 40 send for Ashton to deal with on wave 2, but with this Infiltrator added, he should be more than fine. So this will enable him to stabilize after that rough wave 1 leak.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought he's not gonna have money for the Infiltrator, but with this it's very fine.
Yeah.
It's good setup.
I think he had to send a snail for it, right? So he did have to feed Drachir a little bit more gold, but, you know, the trade-off is that he doesn't leak the entire wave here on 2.
Yeah, and I think XGod will be the victim of that because he's going to get an 80 send even if it's just income.
Oh, yeah.
So he might struggle there a bit.
He does get the veteran built, though. He has perfect gold for that, and now the 0 gold buff as well. Now, the 80 send is still pretty tough for him to deal with. He is placing the veteran in front.
Yeah, he doesn't want to risk, because if the snails come, and it's his old positioning that... Nightmare will run in front because the veteran will attack the snail, so he could risk a big leak.
Oh, but Drachir doesn't even send a second snail.
Yeah, just keeping the pressure on for 5, which is the right read.
Let's see, XGod is pushing a couple of workers here. He doesn't really have anything amazing for 5, though. Like, there's no way he can drop a Lord of Death there. He's probably going to have to do something like a Royal Guard. But, I mean, it's not very exciting. Yeah. It's a good tank.
We're talking
it's
about
just...
weird roles. I think XGod somehow coming out the worst of him and Ashton.
Yeah, right?
With the redraw.
This is definitely not... You know, if you're spending your mastermind for the lowest income mastermind, really, and having a role like this, it's really not where you want to be for the all-important game number 3, right?
Yeah, he probably wants to play around his APS with Doomsday and LOD and the Tempest. I think he's ditching the play for Nightmare in this moment.
I mean, don't get me wrong, XGod's top end is very impressive. With the Leviathan Lord of Death, with the APS Doomsday, he can do some insane holds in the late game. But I think his early game is just too weak.
I think it should be fine if he holds wave 5. It's the bucklers, because then he's set up for wave 6 and 7. So he can push there, and let's see. But he needs to hold here.
Yeah, he's getting could be a 120, but maybe just 100 in income.
Thinks that Tempest gonna save him. I'm not sure about that one.
Well, he can't quite afford the Royal Guard, right? He's 3 gold short of being able to drop that big natural tank.
So it
Yeah.
would be like 3 bucklers
Yeah.
and 1 PV. That's
Now, this
not
thing
good
needs to tank
feeling.
the boss. We need to keep an eye on this, because if it doesn't tank the boss, this is really bad.
I think it should.
Oh, actually, the middle
Or,
one
I
did,
guess
but
the other
still.
one, yeah. But not gonna be a lot of split tanking here. Just straight on. Oh, the Nightmare is just.
Yeah, the Nightmare is absolutely running it down there. The Tempest needed to take a little bit more aggro, I think. So as a result, this will be a pretty bad leak here for XGod, despite being on 480 value wave 5.
Ooh.
53% there.
I don't like this Tempest play here. Like, he played for DPS as a Tempest here, right?
Yep.
They was supposed to at least tank.
Yeah.
He was just making them as pure DPS, but it's Pierce 1-5, so might be a little bit misstep here, because now he's gonna fall behind.
And one interesting thing, he didn't send his Mythium. He could have even sent a single snail and been able to afford the Royal Guard there on 5, which I've got to think would have probably performed better than the double Tempest there. It would have at least kept the Nightmare alive to deal damage, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Also,
And also
very-
he will be stronger on this wave, right? Now he's in danger
Yeah.
versus this tryhard recent with the Tempest.
Yeah, he can definitely leak this resend if he's unfortunate with focus. And Ashton is very far undervalue, receiving the double fiend here from Lucy. Does she get another lizard? Not quite. So she actually saves the
is.
Mythium. She doesn't add a snail here.
I think he is very lucky that Lucy needed the income, like gold, to build the LOD, or else like this is double brute. Like this is leaking super hard.
Yeah.
With the wave 6 debuff on the Canify.
Speaking of leaking, though, let's have a look at XGod. He did receive the Brute resend, but no, with that value, he's
Easy
actually going to
holding.
be fine. Okay, that's good news for the side of XCrash, because XGod desperately needed to stabilize there after wave 5, I think. Oh, and Lucy actually leaks with the Lord of Death. That's interesting. Now, Ashton leaks a single creep as well, but I think this is a favourable trade for XCrash, honestly.
Yeah, he had the resend, so he can come back a little bit, so no more pressure, and he's set up for next waves, right? So now the Tempests are better than Bucklers.
Yep, I think they do need to watch out about this wave 8 though. He will have the LOD, but we saw that if if the enemies have enough Mythium, it's not enough.
And Drachir is pushing hard for it as well. He's on 14 workers now. So Drachir and Lucy, they once again have the early game worker lead.
Oh, sorry, mispinged. But everyone is playing quite far under for this 8 that's gonna come.
So this could be a bit of a fiesta on wave 8 with maybe all 4 players leaking.
Yeah, I think Lucy is set up the best for sure. Only having Arcane and an LOD Tempest, so...
Yeah, she's looking pretty good there on wave 8. Ashton as
will
well
have
with
a coiler,
the coiler should be pretty fine.
I think Drachir will get a bunk out. Given
The
that
bunk
he's
will be
cartel.
very clutch for him, honestly, because Ashton's just going for income here with the Cannoneer, and Lucy's actually going for the tryhard send. So yeah, double dino from Drachir. XGod should be okay with that, especially if he gets the Lord of Death out, which I think he will.
Yeah, he has to place the LOD here.
There it is. Yeah, so the double dino should be okay for him to deal with, although having said that, he's still 185 undervalue.
Yeah, it's everyone is playing quite risky here, so
Yeah.
we'll see how they do. I mean, it's one person receiving a triad, but these income sends aren't like joke income sends. They're quite good versus the units like the Cannoneer is really strong versus all the Arcane.
Yeah. But with that banana bunk, I think Drachir should do just fine. I'm kind of interested in watching Ashton's lane here. He's the only player receiving a power mercenary there with that safety maul, and it's really good because of course it reduces the threshold of the deep coiler, making it 3-shot the wave instead of 2. So it just takes so much longer for it to kill the backline. But having said that, I think Ashton is doing just fine. He's going to leak, but it's only going to be a few creeps. Drachir, though, 81%. Okay, we were watching the wrong lane, apparently. Lucy is holding, Ashton leaking 42. Oh, but XGod leaks as well. Only 51%, but this means they're going to take a decent chunk of king damage. Meanwhile, Lucy is able to cover most, if not all, of Drachir's leak on the left side.
Yeah, Drachir did overpush compared to everyone. He was 14 workers on 7, and everyone else was chilling around 12. So he does get punished since Ashton did full send him, but they come out ahead, like you mentioned, just because Lucy's able to hold that in the mid.
Yeah, that's a very favourable trade for the
Ooh,
bearded dragons. Actually,
everyone resending.
everyone resending XGod with the
Passive
mole
aggressive.
into Lucy. I
And
mean,
we see
the
more
mole is
full sends.
the mole is really
than,
powerful
naked.
against Lucy's build, right? She has so many like small, fast instances of damage, and it's all pierce damage as well, which is really bad against Wave 9.
And she's prepping wave 10, right? Not going for a Mudman and instead just going for some more damage. But I think Drach can hold this resend, right? Unless, is Ashen going for a Brute as well, or?
Ashton does
Yes.
add a brute as
Yes.
well. Okay.
It is
I
the
mean, the
Ashen
resends are
resend.
pretty big. We've got 200 for Lucy, 160 for Drachir, and 180 for both XGod and Ashton. The imps are all getting sniped by this Lord of Death for XGod, though, so that's pretty fortunate for him. He's going to do very well as a result. And Ashton, I mean, he's leaking as well.
Everybody leaking.
Everybody leaking. What a fiesta here on
Jeez.
Wave 9. 61 for XGod, 71 for Lucy, 56 for Drachir. But the King HP advantage is on the side of the bearded dragons. And sure, they might take a bit more damage here on 9, but they're still going to be way ahead in terms of King HP and workers.
We're gonna see another set of resends, because I don't think anyone has that good of a build for 10.
Everybody holding. These two teams, guys, they're playing so aggressively in the early game. Like, this is kind of unusual for Nova Cup games, honestly. We normally see players playing a little bit more slow, a bit more careful, with longer saves, but these guys are just going for it.
Yeah, I think after that resend, everyone is like, oh, like everyone is super pushed. I'm just gonna chill and hold the next resend.
Yeah.
But it's not coming.
Yeah, that's the breakpoint. Now they are like, because they drop so much King HP, right? So they can't afford to do the same play like they did.
Wow. That's a fantastic read there from XGod, actually dropping the Hades here on Wave 10. So he's gambling that there won't be a resend because, of course, the Hades is terrible on Wave 10, but it's absolutely amazing on Wave 11 and 12. So he just covers those waves perfectly. And do you know what that says to me? These guys already want to go Wave 13 against Drachir and Lucy.
I think
I mean, it's like good play for like if you are expecting send on 11, but the downside of that play is that you're showing that you actually pushed 0 workers.
Yeah.
You add like 400 value on next wave, so the opponents can kind of read it and make some adjustments in their plan. So it also has some downsides.
The third LOD making its appearance this game. And
this time in
going for
Drakir's
the
lane,
Super
yeah.
Hades build. Jesus. APS double Leviathan boost. I mean, this Hades is a 1v9 machine, but it has no tanks right now.
And Lucy dropping a couple of Mudmen here as well. So again, this has got to come down to a Wave 13 race, right?
And everyone taking Vamp because they want to play for max value.
I think maybe Ashton has the best setup for a Wave 13 race, though. With the Ocean Templar, he can have a couple of Hellgates there as well with Vampire. I think he can do very well, but the sends are going to be massive all around. And with both sides on fairly low King HP, especially Team XCrash, they can't afford like any kind of a leak, really, on 13.
It's very interesting because everyone has builds that are very good if they're, or like that need a lot of value. Like especially the Gates rule, like you do want like to be close to value with this build, and it's just insane. But with this long save, everyone should be pretty under value when it comes to the 13th Sun.
But
Yeah.
Ashton build on 13 is insane. Like Gate, it's the Ocean Templar and the Vampire. I think he can be very strong, and he also has option to snipe the range sense if he is feeling.
Yeah, so which won't be an option.
It looks like XGod and Ashton are a little bit closer to value as well. Like, there's very little in it, but they do have slightly better value. But having said that, they also have a worker disadvantage, so they're going to receive a bigger send.
Yeah, the cartel buff or debuff hurting Drach for sure. When it comes to a longer save through 11 like this, but
Ooh, double Ghost Knight. I'm not sure about that one. I would personally not send it because I'm afraid that you need to send DPS to this build.
Yeah, the Vamp makes me concerned as well.
Yeah, I think he can just max all the spawns and just clear the wave with this double GK, but
He also
We'll see.
won't be able to kill the GK, so it will be a somewhat close
Yeah.
race of the HP versus like, can you actually get through the GK in time? Because he doesn't have an Orchid or anything to kill it quick.
I love
That's
this
awesome.
though. I love XGod dropping the Sovereign here with the
Yeah.
Vampire, with the APS Aura, and I also love his Peewee up here because he's trying to pull both Four Eyes away from that Sovereign. Let's see if it works out. It does.
Yeah.
So the Sovereign does not tank one of the Four Eyes. It's going to get a ton of value here. Massive sends all around though. 620 for Drachir. He's going to leak pretty badly. 500 for Lucy. She might do okay, actually. 620 for XGod. And it looks like XGod's just holding. What a beast! And Ashton, he received 600 as well. I mean, with those Ocean Templar gates with Vampire, he's doing phenomenally well. But it does look like he will leak. The Ghost Knights were pretty solid against him, honestly. Although, having said that, now they're back onto the wave. And it looks like he's doing very well. Drachir, 89%. Lucy, full hold. XGod, full hold. Ashton Butcher, it's a full hold as well.
Yeah. Like you
Yes.
mentioned, the Vamp came through in the end. It's just, even though everything was dead besides the gates, once the GKs are gone, they can actually kill the wave.
He just got all the spawns and all the lifesteal, so
Yeah.
I was expecting this result.
It was
very
looking
nice-
ropey there for a second because he had half the wave still alive, just about to reach the gates, but the gate creeps were enough to clear it up.
Yeah, but very nice play by XGod, dropping the Sov and pulling the 4 eyes away from it. Very nice play.
I think Drach is pushing for 15 into these guys.
He's
Yeah.
pushing
Kinda
a
risky.
lot.
Or if he's just pushing hard and skipping anyways.
And do you know what? I really love this because XGod and Ashton, right now, they have to be conscious of the play that Drachir and Lucy made in game number 2, where they shifted 900 gold on Lucy, right, to accept the send on 15 and then go a little bit longer. But this time, Drachir and Lucy have switched things up. In fact, they're doing the polar opposite. So instead of shifting gold, he's just fully pushed. I think he's even sold a couple of units there. So he really is all in for breaking XGod on 15.
Yeah, I mean, if they do this, they should send, in my opinion, again. But it's the saves on money. They might be like very confident that they don't need to send and just hold the one wave skip.
I mean, their value will be insane, but so will the size of sends coming from Lucy and Drachir.
Yeah, I think the OT just makes you never want to like send on 15 because it's just so much value, and he's literally on value
Yeah.
with Vamp and all these units.
Yeah. He can
I
drop.
would still like more if you are expecting the send here.
Yeah,
Suicide.
I think it's the safer play for sure. You can't really lose if you do send.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't know that Drachir's suiciding, though, right? And look, he's even selling his board. He's doing exactly what Ashton did in game number 2. So this is an all-in play to try and win on 15. And the shoe's just on the other foot, right? This is the exact same thing that happened in game 2. But now the teams are reversed. So let's see if XGod and Ashton are able to pull off this wave 15 hold, the same that Drachir and Lucy did in game number 2. Because if they leak here, they're dead, guys. Drachir leaking 92% to no send. Ashton, I mean, he's doing very, very well. His creeps are onto the wave. It looks like a hold. XGod, I mean, he's got 2 Drakes out there with the MPS buff, with the Leviathan buff. That looks like a hold as well. Guys, I think this is GG in favour of Team XCrash. It's not over yet, though. But Ashton, I mean, he's sending income. He knows that Drachir, of course, is fully suicided, so he doesn't need to send those power mercenaries. He's just maximising his income, while XGod is going to try and break FC Lucy. He has 600 Mythium. This send is going to be very, very dangerous now.
Yeah, you probably don't need to send full power max versus 3 units on 16, so I guess
I think that's probably a good call from Ashton. He can even do some king upgrades post income if he so chooses, and he does. He's going for regen. Oh, but Lucy even hardened on 15. These guys really were completely all in there on the wave 15 play that didn't pay off for them, and it is a complete role reversal now in game number 3. XGod and Ashton are using Lucy and Drachir's tricks against them, and guys, I think this is the tournament favourites going out in the semi-finals.
Yeah, I guess.
looks like it. Smiley face.
I'm surprised they didn't think that they would also want to go for a 16 race after the 13 situation, but maybe just felt that Drach was too far behind.
Yeah. I mean, Drachir feels like his best play here is to draw a smiley face with Bone Warriors, and maybe he's right. I mean, you love the sportsmanship there. He understands they're in a lost position. XGod leaking 157, but he fully pushed into FC Lucy. Meanwhile, Ashton, of course, easily holding there. Lucy leaks 100% as well, and that does mean that XCrash are through to the grand finals, while the Bearded Dragons, unfortunately, they're going home with nothing.
Yeah, well played by XGod and Ashton.
Yeah, super unclear how that game was until the 13 Suns came. Like, it was a very, very even game.
If you look at the win probability from Jules there, he's favouring the Bearded Dragons all the way through the early game, right from wave 1 all the way to wave 13. And then, as you're saying, with the way that XGod and Ashton were able to both hold those big sends on 13, all of a sudden the win chance goes right in favour of XCrash. And with some nice decision making here, reversing the bait on 15, going for the kill on 16, they just closed this game out in a very clean fashion. Super well played to XGod and Ashton. This was very, very clinical.
Very well played. It's not easy to eliminate Drachir and Lucy from tournaments, so they really had to play a good game.
Yeah, 100%.
Inside reads and holds, so nice play.
100%. Dude. I mean, Drachir and Lucy have felt pretty much unstoppable in the last couple of months. Like, they just have felt maybe a notch above all of the other teams in the Cup. But here, XGod and Ashton are just showing that they can be beaten, and actually it felt like a fairly dominating performance, especially in game number 1. Now, sure, Lucy just played out of her mind in game number 2, but these guys were not phased. They came back very strong in game number 3. Despite the snail leak on Ashton wave 1, they were able to come back into the game, stabilise, and just with some very smart decision-making there, especially on wave 15, just able to close out the game, knocking out the tournament favourites in the process.
Yeah. Really impressive stuff.
So you have to think as well, like XGod and Ashton have put themselves in a very good spot now in terms of winning the whole thing, right? I don't know, do we have a